Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is your latest Manchester United news as Ruben Amorim loses it at the players. That's the latest news coming out of Manchester United. We'll give you all the detail on that. Also, incredible, ridiculous agent fees that Man United have spent over the last 12 months. We'll be delving into that. This is the place to be on the United Stand for the real and best, no scripted conversation in this fan base. We are sacking half of our workforce. We are not paying money to charities. We are saying the club is, dry of money. And yet we are right up there at the top of the Premier League for money spent on agents in the last 12 months. Agents, the lowest of the low, the people who, the mercenaries who take money out of football, and there's Sir Jim writing checks like that. It's a bloody comedy show. We'll talk about that. Also, we got some stuff from ex-players again. Nicky Butt says the players aren't trying. Gary Neville says it's the system. I want to ask a question of you, actually, to start off with. Get in the comments if you're not watching, get in the live chat and we'll come back to it. What is it that you think that is wrong with Man United? Because I listen to a lot of ex-players and I listen to a lot of stuff, and it's almost like these people are still labouring under the misinformation that a couple of quick fixes and we're fine. It's almost like you're not feeling well, have a bit of Lemsip, you'll be fine. I don't think we've got a cold. I think we've got a cancer at Manchester United, and I'm not sure it's curable. But what I find, and I know that's a very deep message, but it's an analogy about football. And I think there's people out there who just thinks little tweaks here and there are going to change things. Like, we could literally be fighting for the title next year. I don't think so. And I think people need to wake up to it. Moaning after every game is just pointless, because you're not going to come out with the answers after a game. There's just too many things wrong at this football club. But look, let's get into it. I really want to get into the agent fees. I really want to get into what we're talking about there. If we've got time, we'll talk about Onana, but I know Beth spoke about it this afternoon. Let's start off by talking about this story that's come out this afternoon. Multiple aggregators talking about Amorim being furious, cancelling meetings, holding an emergency meeting at Carrington where he's gone in on the players and nobody spoke, and this, that and the other. Look, like it or lump it, we've got sources on the United Stand. We've got people within the club. There's players. You know that. I'm not here to gloat or anything like that. I'm just here to say to the people that think the biggest independent Man United fan channel in the world, with hundreds of thousands of people involved, watching, getting involved, and we've been doing it for 10 years, whether you like it or not, we have information. We get information. We can clarify information. I'm not so sure that other people do, based on what they say. But look, each to their own. I can only tell you what we know. In relation to this, it sort of feeds into what I was asked about on Saturday. Remember on Saturday, The Sun did it, and then a couple of other people started saying there was a big fight after the Lyon game where players had to be held off from a physical altercation with Onana. Never happened. Never happened. Didn't happen at all. Onana was actually in a bad place on Thursday and has been in a bad place all weekend, as proved by the fact that he was left out. Nobody was going near Onana to try and fight him, because he was a wreck. He was like physically just, devastated. That wasn't what happened in the dressing room. And also, you need to understand the dressing room under Amorim. That sort of, misbehaviour, lack of respect doesn't happen in his dressing room. That doesn't happen. People are not liberated to start throwing their weight around and fighting with each other. That's not what happens in an Amorim dressing room. So that was bullshit at the weekend. This today about Amorim holding an emergency meeting, well, look, they just lost the game of football. They've got a massive game on Thursday. There are meetings going on. But I think it would be wrong to convey that he's took everybody into a room, said none of you talk, and gone round the room shouting at every single one of them. Amorim's frustration and Amorim's dressing room is run the way he wants it. There is no arguments with players or anything like that, because he is in charge and he's demanded that from the start. Removing the likes of Rashford and Anthony shit everybody up in January. And it's amazing that the results haven't turned around, because he has actually got authority in that dressing room. People won't cross him. They do respect him. But his frustration, and I would imagine what's coming out of today, is that He's not angry with Amas. He's not angry with Yoro. He's not angry with Garnacho. He's not angry with Mainu. He's not angry with Dorgu. He knows that these players are young players and he cannot expect them at 19, 18, 20 to shoulder the responsibility of what a Man United player should be. So he's not like screaming and shouting at every player. His frustration is that there are players at that football club who shouldn't be being humiliated week in, week out for the money they earn and the time they've been at this football club. Like, we listen to people like Brian Robson and Roy Keane and Gary Neville and David Beckham and all those players who go, when you wear that shirt at Man United, there is a history, there is a responsibility, there is everybody that's been before, and there is all the fans around the world. And there is an understanding that when you put that shirt on, it's like a cloak. You're like a superhero. You have to succeed. And Amorim's frustration is probably the same as what yours is, if I'm being fair. And what he will have been saying in the meetings today, in fact, I've had some feedback about it, is people need to fucking realise this is Manchester United. Nobody was given the green light to not turn up and not perform yesterday. No one was given the green light to lose the game. The fans may have expected to lose. The media may have been waiting for us to lose. But that's not a green light for a player on 120k a week to turn in their shittest performance of the season. That's what was going on in the meeting today. And you can figure out who was getting it. But his point was, there are players out there who it's unfair to expect them to shoulder the responsibility because they are kids. But there are players out there who are picked for that game who are earning more than Newcastle players and didn't look like they could play for Newcastle reserves. And this today from Amorim was basically him losing it, losing patience with the fact that's been going on at this club for a long time. We have collected a selection of expensive players who do not understand the responsibilities of wearing a Manchester United shirt. You don't turn it on and off when you want. Every game, every training session, you should be on it. Concentration, deliverance, performance. And that was what it was all about today. And that's why he lost it. It wasn't about everybody. It wasn't even about individuals. It was a message that this football club under him and this footballing club in general should not be having to do this every bloody season where performances like this happen and players just sort of like go, we go again. This whole we can beat anybody on our day, but we can lose everybody on our day is a shit motto for this football club to have. So, look, the last thing we want on a week like this is the message to be Amorim was throwing stuff around, he was fuming with everybody. That was not the case. Some people, it was very, very clear who he was talking about. Some people, it was very, very clear he wasn't talking about them. But yes, there was messages put out there. Now, look, I don't disagree with that. We are having a horrible season. The message that's coming out of United from Amorim is basically this. Everybody knows it's about the Europa League. He's tried, and we've even seen it in interviews, he's tried to sort of deflect from that. It's not all about the Europa League. It's important to win it, but it's not all about that. But the Premier League form is making even more pressure on the Europa League. We're drifting down the league. We're projecting down the league. We could finish fourth from bottom. And he's absolutely furious about that. He's absolutely fuming about that his Man United side could finish fourth from bottom. It's like the Premier League doesn't matter. Of course, the Europa League matters more, but that's not a free ticket to just give up. And I think his frustration with certain players yesterday is, you might not be in my first team plans, but you're Man United fucking players. You're on big money. You're wearing the shirt. Where are you going next season? Are you retiring? Or have you retired already? No, you want another club. You want another pay packet. So show what you're all about. And that's what it's all about. Andreas says, win Europe, sim some players with win dignity and the manager gains trust, respect and a good transfer window, lose Europe and we lose the spark and the fire. It's big, Andreas. The jeopardy is big. Matthew says, Amorim has been given the ingredients to make a sausage roll and people are getting annoyed he isn't making beef Wellington. I feel like Amorim is trying to teach algebra to failed math students and they aren't or can't learn it. Is it possible to come to a middle ground until new players come in? This is depressing, says Cade. Look, Stephen Warnock on Sky again was going at the system at United. I honestly don't know how these people are given a platform to show how thick they are, says Rajaf. Look, I really want to get into the agent fees, but we've got plenty of time tonight. Just hold on to that. basically Man United have spent shitloads of money in the last 12 months on agent fees. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous considering the amount of people we've sacked, and then we've probably given... Look, basically, we have paid agents millions of pounds that won't even... So basically, we've sacked 500 people to save about 10 million quid, and we've spent 30 million quid on agent fees. It's fucking disgusting. We'll get into it. Stephen Warnock, we'll talk about that. Play Bruno, Garnacho, Mount front three. Rasmus is useless, says John. I mean, I think the Rasmus thing needs to calm down a little bit. Again, I don't. Do you support Manchester United, John, or do you support your "I told you so" agenda? There is no Xerxes. There is no transfer window. Obi can't play in Europe, so you have Rasmus, or Rasmus, and some of you still choose to go Rasmus is shit. Rasmus is useless. I mean, literally. So if you were dying of something, and the doctor that can save you didn't like them, would you go, you're fucking useless? You're fucking useless. You're a fucking useless, you are. You're fucking useless. Well, you're dead. Guess what? You're dead. Because I ain't fucking saving you, you prick. I mean, it's just weird. It's weird. And I think that's probably one of the best analogies I think I've ever done. Because I don't understand Manchester United fans who hate Rasmus, who hate Agate, who hate Garnacho, who hate this player, who hate that player, and never shut up about it. And yet, it's all we've got. So I presume in that situation where the one doctor you don't like who can save your life, you're just going to go, I'm going to die happily. You know, it's a weird I told you so mentality. I want Man United to win. I don't care. Marcus Rashford can come back and score a hat-trick. I'll be over the bloody moon. I don't care. I just want to win. There's no hope we're finished, says Bartley, and I feel that Sir Jim Radcliffe might be thinking it's cheaper to sack Amorim and get a new manager than getting an entire new squad. Andre, we'll get into this a little bit later in the show, but you know what? I sort of asked that question at the start. What are the problems at Manchester United? It's incredible to me that you would say, because you're an intelligent person, Sir Jim might think it's cheaper to sack Amorim and bring a new manager in than buy a new squad. So do you think a new manager can come in and be successful with what we've got? Because I find that incredible. I don't care whether the manager's Amorim or James Corden or Simon Cowell. You still need to spend $500 million. It doesn't matter who the manager is. So there is no cheap way out of this in my way. I don't believe any big player is going to come to United as we still have too many problems, says Tom. Has United had a more important game than Thursday in the last 10 years, says Jason? Yeah, I think the FA Cup final last year was as important because if we lost that, we weren't in Europe and we were broke. So yeah, I think it's as important as the FA Cup last year. That United guy says Amorim can't be blamed for any of this. The owners keep kicking him down and the people who want him out simply do not have the patience to support United. Ramsdale being linked to us for 18 million, says Darkwood. Ramsdale's not a bad goalkeeper, but he ain't. You're going to get frustrated with him kicking it long because he can't play out from the back. Absolutely can't. That's why Arteta got rid of him, but maybe he's the level we're looking at. Andreas, thank you very much. Right, okay, there's a lot to get into tonight. I want to just talk about a couple of things. So, Gary Neville said it's the system. Apparently, Stephen Warnock has said it's the system. This needs to stop. This is irrelevant. This is absolutely irrelevant because Gary Neville, in his own analysis, basically proved himself wrong. He said it's the system. Who are the wing backs that can get forward and defend? Who are the number 8s? Who's the striker? Who's the number 10? You know, how's it going to work? The system's the problem, blah, 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 blah. But, okay, 4-3-3 Ten Hag. Who are the fullbacks that are going to get forward and do this? Who are the people who are going to score the goals? Who are the people who are going to create the goals? Like, the problems are the same whatever the system is. You can't say it's the system and then moan about the clientele. He hasn't had a summer transfer window yet. So the system is not, it's irrelevant. If he plays 4-3-3, you're still going to have the same players. This is not a system issue at Manchester United. This is a clientele issue. This is an ownership issue. The system is not the problem. We may have been better off sticking with Ten Hag till the summer and then bringing Amorim in, I agree. But who made that choice? Sir Jim Radcliffe, not Amorim. So this is not a system problem. Manchester United owners decided to make Amorim come in November. That's on them. It's not on the manager. The manager has a system. He plays a system. They knew that. He can't change his system, Gary. He can't change his system, Stephen. He cannot change his system. So what you're actually saying is sack the manager. Because that manager cannot change his system, should not change his system. If I am a manager that plays tiki-taka or rock and roll football or on the front foot football or pressing football, I am never ever in a million years going to park the bus and play Moyes football. It's not who I am. I'm against it. I have my principles. So all this talk about system is irrelevant because what you're basically saying is sack the manager. But the manager hasn't even been given a fair crack at the whip. So the system thing is ridiculous. The only thing I would say that systematically I agree with is stop playing out from the fucking back. But I say that in relation to the rest of the Premier League. I cannot believe the volume of goals that get conceded by idiot managers who play out from the back 99% of the time. If I'm playing against Brighton, Man United, Man City, whoever, I know that Manchester United, I know they're playing out from the back. So I know they can't do it very well. So if I'm Newcastle, or I'm Wolves next week, or I'm Lyon on Thursday, I know Man United are going to play out from the back. And I know they're not very good at it. So I know if I press every single time Man United play out from the back, at least 2 or 3 times in the game, they're going to mess it up. And then I'm going to win it in the final phase. I'm literally going to be 20 meters away from the goal. So it's not just a Man United thing, but I think this is across football. We don't need to do that all the time. It's so predictable and we're crap at it. That doesn't mean you need to boot the ball long. There are ways to play out from the back without playing out the way we do. We're always playing really close to defenders. You know, midfielders can pull into space. Wingers can pull into space. You can throw it. You can kick it longer. You can just boot it if you want to. We need to mix it up. Playing out from the back is a massive mistake. And people say, oh, should we kick it long? I would rather lose the ball in Newcastle's half by booting it long than lose it on the edge of my own box. Because if Newcastle have it in their own half, they've got a lot to do. But on the edge of my box, when everyone's all over the place, they're going to get a shot on goal. So, look, that's not systematic. That's stylistic. I don't like the way everybody plays out from the back, but that's the only thing I would change. Systematically, haven't got a problem with it. It's the clientele that need to change. So the system thing, for me, is completely and utterly irrelevant. And I don't know why we keep going back to it, because as we were saying at the start of the show, if you listen to Stephen Warnock or Gary Neville or anybody else who talks about the system, I would sit them down and go, Gary, Stephen, 2 against 1, see if you can win. So you would change the system, would you? The floor is yours. What system would you go to? Let's listen to this, everybody. Well, I'd play a 4-4-2. I'd put Luke Shaw at left back. I'd put Delo at right back. I'd play Maguire and I'd play Yoro. Yeah? And then I'd play a midfield 3 of Bruno, Agate and Casemiro. And then I'd put Garnacho on one wing. I haven't got another winger. And I'll put Mount up front. I mean, mate, but you're still picking the same players, mate. You're still picking the same players that can't play a 5-yard pass, that can't play out from the back. And also, you're putting Harry Maguire at centre-back in a back 4. He actually suits a 3 better. So, also, Luke Shaw won't be fit. So you're still going to play your 20-year-old Dorgu. You're just changing your system. And whereabouts in the league will that put us then, Gary? Well, better than where we are. Better than where we are? What, 12th? 10th? Still not good enough, is it? And do you still need to buy a load of players in the summer, Gary? Yeah, I do. Yeah, okay. And are we still going to play the 4-3-3 then? Yeah. Why have we got Amorim then? Are you the manager now? Like, it's just so flawed. I look at Manchester United and I don't see system, 1 or 2 players, manager change. I think these things are just a waste of time. They're not going to change it. And look, the floor is open. I would love to know why people think we can, you know, Ruben Amorim's a fraud, or Ten Hag was a fraud, or Ollie was a fraud, or why we need to change the formation, or these things are just so like that. You sack Deitch, you win a load of games with Moyes. Why does that happen? Because Moyes suits that team. He suits that club. He suits those players. Doesn't need to buy players, doesn't need to change much. But Manchester United, we're not a manager change away. And it amazes me 10 years on that people still think we can change a manager and everything's going to be okay. We literally went from Van Gaal to Mourinho. It didn't really work. Yeah, we won the Europa League. Yeah, we won the Carabao Cup, but it was over very quickly. We changed from Mourinho to Ollie. It didn't work. Yeah, we finished second and we got to Europa League final. Then we changed Ollie to Ten Hag and it didn't work. Yeah, we won a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup, but ultimately it failed. People are still changing managers. People are still talking about changing systems. People are still talking about one or two players. We're bloody miles off. And that's the thing. The grown-up conversation is just not allowed to happen in modern society. There has to be a call-in for a Pratt to go Amorim out. There has to be an ex-player after a game who gets really angry because it's not like it was when he used to play. There has to be a fan that goes and says something incredibly silly for notoriety. And the reality is, this has been going on for over a decade. Like, we don't, as I said this morning, we don't do anything well. We don't pass well, we don't shoot well, we don't dribble well, we don't tackle well, we don't mark well, we're crap at set pieces, our goalkeepers aren't very good either. There's just so much wrong with that football club, and it's hilarious that people think, change the manager, buy a couple of players. This is reset from top to bottom. It's debt gone, Glazer's gone, Sir Jim gone with them. You know, it's the whole squad pretty much, you know, torn down and built again. Obviously, some people would stay. It's structurally unstable. It's like having a really nice house, and you get your surveyor around, and you say, I want to keep the house, and I want to do this, that, and the other, and they go, mate, I don't even think it can be done anyway, but you need to knock it down and rebuild it. And I think that's where we're at with Manchester United. But it amazes me people think there's still a quick fix. It amazes me. And it actually gets quite boring because every game there's somebody saying something shit about the system or the manager. And it's like, I don't want Amorim to get the sack, but in a way, I'd like to just sit there and try the I told you so thing and go, okay, sack Amorim, bring the next guy in, I'll give it a month, and then you're all going to do the same again. At some point, we've got to have a conversation about the club being broken, almost unsalvageable. People are still thinking there's a quick fix out there. The players have normalised losing and they aren't hungry for winning titles. They can't handle the pressure, says Mohammed. Look, if I was in charge of that football club and we weren't in debt and I was a billionaire, I'd know I've got to spend a load of money and not get it back. I'd be sitting down with Ruben Amorim and I'd be going, right, I watched the game yesterday, mate. Garnacho, Yoro, Amas, Mainu, let's see what we can do with those. But you need 4 or 5 experienced players straight away, don't you? You do agree with that? Yeah, good. Okay, let's get them in. Lindelof, Eriksson, you know, Luke Shaw, Casemiro. I mean, off the top of my head, there are more. They've all got to go. Rashford, Anthony, Malacia. Yeah, they've all got to go. For different reasons, they've all got to go, and we need to replace them as well. Okay, it's going to take time, but from day one, we're telling the fans that this is what we're going to do, and I'm not asking for patience. I'm just saying we're going to do this, and we're going to get there as quick as we can. We're not talking about fucking patience. It's the last thing in the world. But we haven't got that type of ownership. Man Utd rebuild is a demolition job, not a restoration job. Most people haven't realised it yet, says Umit. I've had a lot of mental health issues and tuning every day has helped me immensely. Gary Neville's a prat, says Nick Anderson. Thanks for your super chat. Thank you to Mohammed as well. Mike JW is gifting a membership. Have Sky ever reached out to you, Mark, says Rajaf? No. Appreciate that you only to do that morning show on a Saturday. You know, the Saturday social one. They used to try and get me on every week and I said I didn't want to do it. I appreciate that you compliment Maguire when he does well and don't have an agenda, says Ali. Thank you very much, mate. Gori says 100% Mark, everyone trying to play pep ball but sideways back passing for 80 minutes out of 90 has made the whole league very boring. Mike Calvert says the common denominator over the past 13 years is the Glazers. It doesn't matter who we have in charge, the poison seeps down from them right onto the pitch. Look, I was thinking about it today, mate. We could finish 4th from bottom and people are talking about the manager. We could finish 4th from bottom and people are talking about, I hope we win the Europa League. 4th from bottom. 4th from bottom. They've normalised Man United potentially finishing 4th from bottom. And you know how you do that? I said this a few weeks ago. You do it without the fans even knowing. You take a club that used to fight for titles all the way down to 4th from bottom over the space of 12 years. Gradually. It's like that joint of ham in the fridge that you get wafer thin cuts every day. And every time the owner of the ham looks at it, they go, oh, it's the same. But then you suddenly look at it and go, my God, it's half the size. That's what the Glazers have done. They've gradually just shaved off our patience and standards over many years to a point where it's normalised that we're talking about finishing 17th. I mean, it's incredible. You know, if you'd said 5 years ago we're going to finish 17th, you would have emptied Old Trafford. Nobody would buy a Man United shirt. The Glazers would be gone. But they've just done it so gradually, and it's worked. Funny how we try and constantly play out from the back, but at the same time, every kick goes to the goalkeeper to hoof it. Make it make sense, says Jake M. Hi, Mark. Not doing Baller League tonight. Your owners need to go. They're terrible and great at letting managers take the blame. I am on That's Football at 8 o'clock, and I will have a Baller League on, but I'm also watching Fulham Bournemouth. Mark, I feel that some players haven't stepped up for Amorim, and it makes me angry. He deserves better, says Rob. I don't think they're good enough, mate. I don't think they're good enough to step forward. Casemiro's coming towards the end. Harry Maguire's coming towards his end. They're willing, but the body ain't giving. They're not prime Maguire and they're not prime Casemiro. Bruno does too much. Delo's doing his best, but might not be up to it. You've got a raft of young players that have been thrown in too soon and aren't ready. There's not really, you know, you look at the Barcelona team, you look at the PSG team, but I look at the Arsenal side. Arsenal have got 4, 5, 6 top players. We haven't got that anymore. We just haven't got it. It's just not a very good squad. We actually are where we deserve to be in the league, by the way. No messing around. But I don't blame Amorim. I blame the players and I blame the owners. The team is where it should be. We're incredibly lucky to have the Europa League, actually, because we don't deserve it. John Claude Blanc's role as Man United director has been terminated. I don't think it has, Mike. I think it's just a part-time sort of consultancy role. And that guy Beto says the fact that there are people out that are already saying Amorim out is what's wrong with our fan base. He was brought in to rebuild and he's not had anything to do that. Neville shouldn't allow tactical opinion after Valencia, says Super Donut. I'm trying not to be player FC. I feel more like chances and goals than keeping Hoyland at start. All love, says John. Look, trust me, mate. This is a community, but sometimes, you know, the great thing about the community is that people express really raw, blunt opinion. I think Rasmus has had more than enough chances for you to say you think he needs to be sold. But my point is there's nobody else. And I don't see what it does for us to just go, you're shit, you're shit, you're shit. There is nobody else. So we've just got to get behind the team. And look, I like Rasmus. I'm probably in the minority. I might be, I might not be. But I do think signing a 20-year-old and sticking him up front for Man United every week for 2 years with no support, no guidance and no backup is disgusting. Whether you think he's a good player or not, he'd have been better off staying at Atalanta. 100%. His development would be better. The Elanga project, get out of Man United and develop yourself. Too many of our players are being burned. Garnacho's being burned, Mainoo's being burned, Dorgu's on the route to being burned. Too much too soon. They're not being developed and it's problematic. But we have to hope. We have to hope for the future. What do you remember about Jesper Olsen, says Leia, bit before my time. And I think this will be a struggle, but can you take 3 positives from the season, says Matthew. Yoro is a positive. De Ligt is a positive. Agate is a positive and Mazraoui is a positive and Xerxes is a positive. So let's just say 1 transfers. 2, Amorim is a positive. I think we're very, very lucky. And in fairness, I was very, very surprised when Sir Jim Radcliffe and Ineos got him. I think Amorim is a positive. He's just in a shit situation. And the fact that we've got the Europa League that could rescue the season is a positive as well. So those 3 things as well. And also I think some of the youth as well. But look, it's been a shit season. Right, I want to talk about this. There's lots to get into, but I still want to talk about this. This is incredible to me. Really, really incredible. There's some sort of rumour that De Ligt's going to be out for a few weeks, by the way. I've been hearing this for a while, so I can't credit the person who's told me because they haven't put it out there officially yet. But apparently, look, it might be a rumour, but apparently De Ligt is out for a while. I was sort of expecting that anyway, and I think we'll be okay with Maguire playing centrally with Mazraoui and Yoro. I mean, I like De Ligt, but we're fortunate that we've got Maguire, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. I certainly wasn't expecting him back for Thursday anyway. And hopefully we'll be in the semi-final when he can be back with the likes of Ahmad, who is back training on the grass. But let me just talk to you about this. This to me is disgusting. I want to preload this. So Manchester United over the last year have sacked half their workforce, like sacked people before Christmas and after Christmas. You know, people who've got families, people who aren't on massive money, people who where that wage is huge and they've got to go out and find money and work and, you know, feed their families, etc. We've sacked people. We've also raised ticket prices for ordinary working Man United fans who are loyal. We've refused to put money into charities. The cuts have been deep and they've been hard. And yet, over the last 12 months, Manchester United have spent £33 million on agent fees. Between February 24 and February 25, we've spent £33 million on agent fees. There is only 2 other clubs that have spent more than us, Chelsea and Manchester City. Comparatively, Arsenal have spent 20. We've spent 33. Comparatively, Liverpool have spent 20. We've spent 33. It's absolutely disgusting. For what? For what? Last time I checked, we didn't sign Elise. Last time I checked, we didn't sign Gyökeres. With all due respect, I think we had a good summer transfer window last year. But Xerxes was a player AC Milan wanted. Agate, I can't remember who else he was linked to. De Ligt, can't remember who else he was linked to. Mazraoui, West Ham wanted him. Yoro, Real Madrid wanted him. Fine. But £33 million on agent fees for those 5 players. And maybe Dorgu as well. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I don't mind giving money to clubs. I don't really like giving players massive wages, but agent fees. I mean, this is Mino Raiola FC, by the way. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about agents who do next to fucking nothing, really. They get hold of a good player and rinse clubs dry. £33 million. And yet you're sacking half your workforce. So basically, if you're one of those people who got sacked by Sir Jim Radcliffe, rest well tonight knowing that you got sacked so that we could pay millions of pounds to somebody who's nothing to do with the club. You know, we basically greased the hands of agents. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And on the one hand, you got Sir Jim Radcliffe going, at the end of the day, business is not good and we've got to make cuts. We've got to make sacrifices. And on the other hand, you're almost number one for paying agents big money. It's just... how this club is run is just a farce. A complete and utter farce. On one hand, it's PR central about we've got to do this. We've got to make these cuts. We've got to sack people. We've got to raise ticket prices for fans. And then we've got to pay millions of pounds for agents. For players that ain't Mbappe. Ain't Erling Haaland. Ain't, you know, they're not... I like the signings, but they're not £33 million worth of agent fee signings, are they? It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And it needs discussing. Of course it does, because it's ridiculous. That to me is as bad as the fucking debt interest we pay. 33 million in agent fees. It's crazy. I mean, it's obviously partially true that the reason we got Xerxes is because we paid a huge amount of money to his agent. My husband leaves me to watch you every time you're on live. I feel unloved, says Leia. Thanks for your super chat. Vishvesh says, we are so far away from a fix. Years of poor recruitment have buried us. We have 9 or 10 players that need replacing. The Glazer ownership are guilty of negligence, says Vishvesh. And no surprise, out of all our attackers, Ahmad is the best. The only one that was allowed to develop properly, says Fabian. We have players since Van Gaal's time. We have players from 5 tactics and different styles. We need one style, one manager, and stop player power, says Sean. And if I was Amorim, I'd win the Europa League, then walk away, says Chad. What do you remember? Okay, I've done that one. Look, I've said what I've said about the agent, but the agent fees. But what the real thing I wanted to say is it is disgusting to spend that amount of money when you're sacking people and you're raising ticket prices. But what also resonates with me is I'm still lost on Sir Jim Radcliffe's best in class. Oh, we're going to bring in the best in class, the best recruiters, the best scouts, the best this, the best that. This ain't on the Glazer watch. This is on the Sir Jim Radcliffe watch. This is recruitment under Sir Jim Radcliffe where we are still paying stupid money for transfers. I'm not saying the players are wrong, but we're still doing what we've done for the last 10 years. We're still spending stupid money on players. And that's happened in the last 12 months. We're paying ridiculous amounts of money to agents to sign players. But I was under the impression that, no, we mean business now. We're a serious football club. But agents still see the Man United name and go, yep, I'm going to make money here. Get the villa ready in LA, because we're going to get one. Everyone was joking to give Bruno the ball yesterday. Everyone was looking to give Bruno the ball yesterday, says I am. Ian Tracy says, it's disgusting, Mark, but agents will continue to rip us off when we're trying to get players when we're such a mess. They know we are desperate, says Ian. And GC says, not just the players. We hired staff, fired staff, managers, etc. Those add to the fees as well. No, it's agent fees, mate. It's for agents who buy players and stuff like that. Glazers have slowly dug the grave of this club, and I believe we have put the final nail on the coffin with Ineos saving them. We're broke and managed by vultures. We might be Everton from now on, says Andre. Is that not disrespectful to Everton, though? I was saying we're Everton a few weeks ago. I don't think we're Everton when they're above us playing better. I don't know what we are, but if we're fourth from bottom, we're not Everton. We're not quite Southampton, Ipswich and Leicester. We're just the worst Premier League club. I actually don't think... If we finish fourth from bottom, I basically think we're the worst club in the Premier League because relegation doesn't exist anymore. The three who come up, they're basically championship clubs on a stadium tour. They're not real Premier League clubs. They're not good enough to stay in the Premier League. It's 3 up, 3 down. So if we finish 17th, we're basically the worst club in the Premier League because the Premier League doesn't have relegation anymore. Look, going back to what Sean said, I think it's a good point. And I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I remember saying this before, probably quite a while ago, because I can't remember, like, sort of roughly when it will have been that I said it. But when you think about it, if we've still got players from Van Gaal, and we've still got players from Mourinho, and we've still got players from Jose and Ten Hag, which we have. It can't be argued we still have got those players. If we've still got those players, then effectively, how many years is that? How many years is it since Van Gaal, since Jose? 10? Is it 10 years since we... got Van Gaal or sacked Van Gaal? 2016 we sacked Van Gaal, didn't we? So we're coming, 9 years. 8-9 years. How is Mourinho, how is Amorim solving this in 5 months? Why are some people expecting Amorim to solve this in 5 months when factually there's 8 years of decay? Like, Lindelof was signed by Jose. Luke Shaw was signed by Van Gaal. Maguire was signed by Ollie. And then you've got all the Ten Hag players. If we've got so many years of mistakes, why do people suddenly think you can solve it in a fast track? Well, we haven't even had a pre-season or a transfer window yet. It's modern society, isn't it? It's the impatience, it's the flick screen, it's the left and right, it's the moan about everything mentality. But look, if something takes 5 years to ruin, why would it not take 5 years to rebuild? Why wouldn't it? There is a squad there that, I haven't said this for a while, if you've got 5 different jigsaw puzzles, but they're not complete, and then you mix them all together, how are you ever going to build a picture from jigsaw pieces from 5 different puzzles that never made a picture in the first place? Is that not what we've got in front of us? Not to mention the added ingredient of young players that are going to need nurturing. So you've got young players, Van Gaal players, Ollie players, Jose players, Ten Hag players, and one Amorim player. This is logically not going to work. But where I will jump in is that is not a green flag for let's sit back and take 6 years. No. No. If you had the right ownership, this could be done very quickly. You might not be successful, but you could build the Amorim project very quickly. You could be like, you're all going, you 6 are coming in, next summer another 6 are coming in. In 12 months, I could have 12 players. I need 12 players. In 12 months, I could sign 12 players. You've got a January transfer window and 2 summer transfer windows. I need the money. Obviously, I need the money, which we don't have, but this rebuild is a 12-month rebuild, minimum. That's all I'm asking for, starting from this summer. But obviously, the red flag is that's if I'm in charge running Manchester United with no debt. I'd be like, we're getting 6 players in now, we're getting 6 players in next summer. What it might be is 5 players now, 2 in the summer and 5 next summer. But we're getting 12 players in the next 12 months. And in 12 months' time, Ruben, I want to see a massive improvement and I want to see these players fitting your system. But we're not going to do this, I don't think. But that's logically my message to the system wankers and the Amorim out wankers is that you're exposing your naivety by trying to criticise something after 5 months that has been destroyed for at least 5 years. And you need to be aggressively doing things to change it. There's no point moaning about the team yesterday, by the way. There's no point. Well, there is, but there's no point moaning about the team yesterday in relation to the manager could have done anything. You can moan about the team because he's shit, and he's proved he's shit. I get that. But there's no point moaning about it like there's a solution. Moaning because they're shit is fine. Moaning because you think there's a solution is incredible. Because the solution comes in the summer. Lindelof will be gone. Eriksen will be gone. We'll try to remove Casemiro. Rashford will go. Anthony will go. Malacia will go. We will try and bring some players in. So moaning about how shit we are, absolutely fine. I liked what Nicky Butt said about how, some of these players just don't get it. All right, Newcastle are better than us, but you still don't go into a game and play like that. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. I agree with Roy Keane that, some of the nonsense coming out of the team afterwards is the same nonsense we've heard all the time. But I don't agree with the system conversation or that we shouldn't be doing this, we shouldn't be doing that. I don't think the solutions are there at the moment. I think that's incredibly naive to go, there's a solution. I don't think there is a solution now. The only solution now is the one I'm clinging on to is we're going to win the Europa League. But it ain't going to be pretty. We're just going into a Royal Rumble with 4 or 5 other clubs and you just hope you're the last man standing. But there is no solution. We're not going to play prime sporting ball. We're just going to have to try and win it. And then in the summer, we're going to have to try and build something. Why can't Man United save? Because they buy in Dia, says Rich Silverwood. Everyone was joking trying to give Bruno the ball yesterday, says Ian. Thank you very much. Mark, you need to get ready for Bournemouth versus Fulham. Mate, take me 5 minutes. I'm enjoying myself. Please do subscribe, by the way, and smash a like on the video. I'm just trying to think where we're at. It's Monday. Yeah, Thursday. Horrible thing about the UK. There's lots of things wrong with the UK. Horrible thing about it, and it's probably the same for a lot of you, but I know not all of you. Thursday night is like a Friday night because it's Good Friday on Friday, which is a bank holiday. And Monday is a bank holiday, so it's a long Easter weekend. So if things go wrong on Thursday, that's going to be a very, very, very different. I mean, I don't know what you do. I mean, it's not as bad as being knocked out by Sociedad in the middle of March. What do you do then? At least we've had another month. But yeah, if we get knocked out on Thursday, and it could happen, then, God, yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know. I really don't. Can we play Goldbridge ball, says Dan, Man United. What we need to do is stop playing out from the back. all the time. Mix it up a little bit. Brighton are the worst. The predictability of playing out from the back from Brighton is absolutely incredible. I just don't know why teams do it. It's just so... If you know somebody's going to do something, you're going to figure it out very, very quickly. Evening, Mark. Did you see the picture of Bruno looking lost on the bench? Made me feel sorry for him. And any news on De Ligt for Thursday? Dylan, I might be wrong, but there's been a few people talking about De Ligt being out for a few weeks. So I'm working on that assumption. With regards to Bruno, do I feel sorry for Bruno? Not really. And I know that's really harsh, but not really. I mean, he's been at the football club long enough to know the problems, and he signed a new contract last summer. Like, he wants to be here. And he knows the problems. So, you know, I know that sounds really harsh, and I'm very happy Bruno's here, but I don't feel sorry for him. I need him to be the solution. I don't need to feel sorry for him. He's signed the contract. He's the captain of the club. We need a leader, basically. And I don't feel sorry for him. I wouldn't have felt sorry for Roy Keane. He is the only leader we've got, and we need him to step up to the plate. Like, the last thing we need is to feel sorry for Bruno and, you know, for Bruno to be looking lost. He's got to find it in him to stand up and fight, which is what he normally does. So I don't feel sorry for him. I think he's frustrated. We're all frustrated, but he's our captain. We need him to stand up. I don't want to feel sorry for our captain. I want our captain to inspire. I don't want to feel sorry for Garnacho. I don't want to feel sorry for Rasmus. I don't want to feel sorry for Yoro. I want them to stand up and deliver. They're living the dream at Manchester United. And as we've said many times before, the criticism is because you're not good enough. The praise at this football club can be life-changing. And that's the platform for you. We win on Thursday night, all the moaners disappear. All the people trying to be negative. I mean, I actually think there'll be people in our fan base hoping we lose on Thursday. So they can go, I told you about Amorim. I told you about this. I told you about that. They'll go missing for Easter if we win. And that's what I'd be inspired to do if I was Bruno or the players. I'd be like, you know, we win on Thursday, no one's talking about Newcastle. We win on Thursday, no one's talking about the Premier League. We're talking about 2 games away from the Europa League final. And that's the journey. And that's the mentality. Evening, Mark. Did you see the picture? I've done that one from Dylan. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Aaron G says, time for Bruno to go. He deserves more. I can't stand that comment, actually, Aaron. You're not the only one to say it, but I can't stand that argument because I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Why would it be okay for Bruno to down tools and leave Man United when we need him most? Signed a contract for 300 grand a week. Roll your sleeves up, do your fucking job. I don't feel sorry for you. We're not going anywhere. We'd be supporting Man United in the Conference League, in the National League. So, sorry, mate. You signed a contract. You paid very, very well. Do your fucking job. Get on with your job. Don't feel sorry for you. Do your job. Prove people what you are. A really good player. Get rid of you. Thank you very much. It's between Man United and Chelsea in the race to sign De Ligt. They're ahead of Bundesliga clubs, Fade. That's from Romano. I told you that a week and a half ago. And we're confident we'll win the battle. Oh, it's almost like I know what's going on. But yeah, don't be worrying too much about Amorim fallout. It's not really aimed at most of the team. It was aimed at a few players who aren't delivering in the shirt, who should be delivering in the shirt. And there isn't any physical altercations or anything like that going on. It's a weird thing at Man United at the moment because actually since Amorim's come in, he's commanded the respect of the dressing room and they do listen. They just can't respond. It's really weird. I think everybody wants to go dressing room sources. They're all falling out, this, that and the other. They're not. Like there are no aggressive altercations. There is no, falling out. They're all listening to Amorim and he does have control of the dressing room. They're just not good enough as a team. Some people individually are. It's not a collective. But as a team, they just can't do what he's asking them to do. Even though they're listening, they just can't do it. And that's clientele, really, isn't it, if you think about it? Surely personal pride instead of weekly paychecks has to kick in sometimes, says Double D. You'd hope so. You would hope so. Fantastic show tonight. I'm just going to go and have a quick toilet break, and then I'm going to be live on That's Football. I will have Baller League on as well, but I'm also doing Fulham against Bournemouth. It's just a bit of a football Monday night chat, really, which this show has been brilliant, but I'm just going to chill out now and have a more relaxed environment. Sort of ask me anything. If the players like a 14th place side, they should be paid as such. No contracts above 100k if you place below 10th, says Nolis. It would be great to have performance-based pay, wouldn't it? It really would. Okay, I'll see you over on That's Football in 5. Take care, everyone. Speak to you in a minute.